What is good, YouTube? It's your boy Flames back at it again with another Bible reading video, man. Today, about to be reading out of First Samuel chapter 30, man. Without further ado, let's get right to it. David's wives are captured. Okay, so in the last chapter, the Philistine higher-ups did not let David go into battle with them. Even though, the person who allowed him to stay in their region, the Philistine, empire, approved of David and, you know, said that David did no wrong in his eyes, but he was rejected by their people due to where he started off at, under the kingdom of Saul. Um, but yeah, this is chapter 30, and the title of the chapter is David's wives are captured. So we're about to see what that's all about. Now, when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day, the Alchemites had made a raid against the Negib and against Ziklag. They had overcome Ziklag and burned it with fire, and taken captive the women all who were in it, both small and great. They killed no one, but carried them off and went their way. And when David and his men came to the city, they found it and burned it with fire, and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. Then David and the people who were with him raised their voices and wept until they had no more strength to weep. David's two wives have also been taken captive, Aloam of Jezreel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. Okay. Wow, hold on, I gotta reread this. Wow. So when he finally gets back, wow. David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because all the people were bitter in soul, each for his sons and daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. And David said to Abiathar the priest, son of Alchemech, bring me the ephod. So Abiathar brought the ephod to David, and David inquired of the Lord, shall I pursue over this hand? Shall I overtake them? He answered him, pursue, for you shall surely overtake and shall surely rescue. So David set out, and the 600 men who were with him, and they came back, and they came to the brook Besher, where those who were left behind stayed. And when David pursued, he and 400 men, 200 stayed behind, who were too exhausted to cross the brook Besor, because they were already traveling, right? They found an Egyptian in the open country and brought him to David, and they gave him bread and he ate, and they gave him water to drink, and they gave him a piece of cake of figs and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit revived, for he had not eaten bread or drunk water for 3 days and 3 nights. And David said to him, to whom do you belong, and where are you from? He said, I am a young man of Egypt, a servant to Alchemite, and my master left me behind because I fell sick 3 days ago. We had made a raid against the Najib of the Kerethites, and against that which belongs to Judah, and against the Najim of Caleb. And we burned Ziklag with fire. And David said to him, will you take me down to this, uh, what does it say, band? Will you take me down to this band? And he said, swear to me by God that you will not kill me or deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will take you into this hand. David defeats the Alchemites. Yay! And now when he had taken him down, behold, they were spread abroad all over the land, eating and drinking and dancing, because of the great spoil they had taken from the land of the Philistines, and from the land of Judah. And David struck them down from twilight until the evening of the next day, and not a man of them escaped, except 400 young men, who mounted camels and fled. David recovered all that the Alchemites had taken, and David rescued his two wives. Nothing was missing, whether small or great, sons or daughters, spoil or anything that had been taken. David brought back all. David also captured all the flocks and herds, and the people drove the livestock before him. And he said, this is David's spoil. Then David came to the 200 men who had been too exhausted to follow David, and who had been left at the brook Besser. And they went out to meet David to meet the people who were with him. And when David came near to the people, he greeted them. And all the wicked and worthless fellows among the men who had gone with David said, because they did not go with us, we will not give them any of the spoil that we have recovered, except each man may lead away his wife and children and depart. But David said, "You shall not do so, my brothers." That was just them being greedy, right? "You shall not do so, my brothers. With what the Lord has given us, he has preserved us and given into our hand the band that came against us. Who would listen to you in this matter? For as his share is who goes down into the battle, so shall his share be who stays by the baggage. They shall share alike." And he made it a statute and a rule for Israel that's from that day forward to this day. When David came to Ziklag, he sent a part of the spoil to his friends, the elders of Judah, saying, "Here is a present for you from the spoil of the enemies of the Lord." It was for those in Bethel, at Rabbah, of the Najib in Jadar, and Arbor, and Siploth, and Estrema, and Racal, and the cities of the Jerahmeelites, and the cities of the Kenites, and Hormah, and Borashan, and Athleck, and Hebron, for all the places where David and his men had roamed. Okay. That's the end of this chapter. So basically, David and his people, they're able to, everything ends up being all right. David is so, humble, and he just always seems to have favor in the sight of the Lord, and I believe that's why. Um, but yeah, that's the end of this chapter. The next chapter is probably going to take me 1 minute to read. I'm just going to add it onto this video. I wasn't going to, but I don't want to make a 1 minute video. So, we're about to read the last chapter of 1 Samuel, chapter 31, Death of Saul. Now the Philistines were fighting against Israel, and the men of Israel fled from the Philistines and fell slain on Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines overtook Saul and his sons, and the Philistines struck down Jonathan and Abinadab and Malchishua, the sons of Saul. The battle pressed hard against Saul, and the archers found him, and he was badly wounded by the archers. Then Saul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and thrust me through with it, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through and mistreat me." But his armor-bearer would not, for he feared greatly. Therefore Saul took his own sword and fell upon it. And when the armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he also fell upon his sword and died with him. Okay, wow. So basically, he was just badly wounded, and he probably didn't want to die by the hands of the Philistines, because in his head it was probably dishonorable. Maybe that was a pride thing. I'm not sure. But he told his armor bearer to kill him, and the armor bearer was like, right, somebody who's holding onto their armor. But people like and then what it seems like from what I've read, when somebody has an armor bearer, they're always with this person, and they're probably very close, right? So as soon as Saul decides to off himself, so does this guy as well. And all his men on the same day. Oh, thus Saul died, and okay, so everybody died. But the armor bearer fell on his sword and killed himself along with Saul, but everybody got murdered. Um, so it says, and when the men of Israel who were on the other side of the valley and those beyond the Jordan saw that the men of Israel had fled and that Saul and his sons were dead. Oh wait, hold on, sorry. Yep. So Saul and all his sons were dead. They abandoned their cities and fled, and the Philistines came and lived in them. The next day when the Philistines came to strip the slain, they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. So they cut off his head and stripped off his armor and sent messengers throughout the land of the Philistines to carry the good news of the house of their idols and to the people. They put his armor in the temple of Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan. But when the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul, all the valiant men arose and went all night and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan. And they came to Jabesh and burned them there. And they took their bones and buried them under the tamarisk tree in Jabesh and fasted 7 days. So obviously they don't want Saul, who is the king of Israel, to be disrespected in that manner. So when it says, I think it was Valorant. Hold on. Valiant is like people that were like war ready is like a good way to put that. Um, but yeah, that'll be it for today's video. I appreciate y'all for watching. Catch y'all tomorrow. And tomorrow we're about to get into Second Samuel. Um, and yeah, Second Samuel. Let's see how long this book is. Decently long. I'm not really entirely sure who wrote these books. But yeah, we're done with First Samuel. We've got this is how far we've gotten through this, or we still have a long ways to go. This is only we barely read. Series isn't going to be done for years, bro. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for watching. I love y'all so much, and I'm gonna catch y'all tomorrow. Peace.